I want to call to order the meeting of the Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission for September the 9th, 2024. Good to see each and every one of you here this evening. At this time, we're going to ask that everyone please stand for our prayer and pledge of allegiance from Commissioner Charlotte P. Commissioner.
Shall we pray? Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity to come together and conduct the Rutherford County business. Grant us wisdom that we shall make good decisions. Thank you for the freedoms that you have granted us to make those decisions and to come together. Be with those that have put themselves in harm's way for our freedoms and our safety. Place your healing hands on those that are in need. Guide us and guard us. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
May be seated. Madam Secretary, please call the roll. Determination of quorum.
Tim Averwater. Jeff Phillips. Present. Mike Cush.
Present.
Lee Bogle. Charlotte P. Here. Trey Gooch.
Here.
Chip Pinion. Marvin Whitworth.
Here.
Jim Thompson. Here. Pettis Reed.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. As for approval of our minutes, commissioners, I need a commissioner from you to approve our minutes. We have a motion to approve. Second. Have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, minutes have been approved. Public comments, Mr. Mossy?
No, sir. Nobody signed up.
Items withdrawn or deferred.
Thankfully, the item is still on, or else we'd be here for no reason.
Okay, so thank you. We only have one. We'll move right into our new business. Item 7 is rezoning zoning ordinance amendment request. Just a reminder that all rezoning regulation amendment requests will be considered at the October 17, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting unless deferred or withdrawn by the Planning Commission or the applicant. We'll begin with item 1. Sunil Patel, which is REZ 24021, located on Highway 99, Jackson Ridge Road. I am the commissioner, and the size of the site is approximately 8 acres. Tax map is 146, parcel 34.02. Existing zoning is residential medium density. Proposed zoning is commercial services. Mr. DeMasi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. As you stated, the applicant would like to zone this property to commercial services from its existing residential zoning. They are proposing to look at the possibility of constructing 4 mixed retail spots, including a liquor store and convenience market, with the ability also to have a gas station. Mike has the location on the map on your on the big screens there, plus there's some maps in the staff report on your iPads as well. You'll also find in the staff report a concept plan. It's a pretty basic plan, but it's been submitted by the applicant. It's not a binding plan, but does give you an idea of the way that they would like to move forward with development of the property. As I said, it's a basic plan, so you're not seeing any building sizes, dimensions, anything like that. The size and the layout of this property, of course, are going to be determined in large part by the availability and the location of their septic soils. Also, another item with this particular location is the fact of the potential floodplain on the subject property. I'll discuss that here in just a moment or two. I will say that the applicant is proposing access on their concept plan both along Highway 99 and Jackson Ridge Road. However, these are both state roads, so TDOT will have to get involved, and whether or not they'd be able to have access on 2 roads is unknown at this point. But you can see on the concept plan that they are showing kind of a right-in, I'm looking at this wrong, right out, left out, and a way in as well. Now, we haven't discussed anything like turn lanes or anything like that. That would come should this application be approved, and of course they'd have to submit an engineered site plan for us to take a look at. They also haven't submitted any kind of a traffic study at this point. However, as I stated, if this is approved, we would have the ability to require a traffic study at the site plan stage, and that's something that's allowed in our regulations that we could take a look at. As far as landscaping, of course, they would require a type 2 buffer between any commercially and residentially zoned properties. So that would be on the east/southeast portion of this property, but not against any of the commercially zoned property, which would be to the west-southwest. There's adjacent commercial general zoning. Mike will point it out there on the property immediately to the south-southwest of where Mike's got the hand right there. Going back to the potential flooding on this property, and I'll make some general comments about it. Mike may want to go into a little more detail about it. The flood study for this particular creek, if you will, and Mike's got it shown on the, you can kind of see it on the map here. You can kind of see where the flood study stops when it comes back up. They terminated the flood study about a mile or so, I guess that'd be downstream from the subject property. So when you look at a flood map, it'll say, well, there's no floodplain on the property. That's not because the water just magically disappears where the floodplain study stopped. They would have to continue the flood study to find out exactly how that's going to impact this property. And that's, again, and I'll let Mike elaborate more on that if he wants. But that, along with the septic soil, is going to be the main determining factors as to what kind of development you can get out of this property. So in our opinion, it might better suit the applicant to know some of these answers before trying to move forward with this. But with that, the applicant is present, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. And Mike, if you have anything further to add, feel free.
Yes, several of you are familiar with this area. Concord Creek, like Doug said, in FEMA's wisdom, decided to terminate the study before it got to the end of Concord Creek. So you have about 5 square miles of unstudied, unmapped drainage area. So what we're working on right now, and several of you might remember this area, but there are 2 houses right here that are on the FEMA buyback purchase, and I'll show you a couple events that happened. This is one of them right here, a couple of the houses that are flooded. So we're hypersensitive, hyper aware that this area has some flooding problems, and we need to make sure that this doesn't happen to anything that happens around this property. So one of the requirements when they get to site plan stage would be to conduct a flood study to determine what elevations they need to build their store to. And Doug is correct about the soils, and then also we have been surprised by TDOT when it comes to road access. So if you recall the subway that got rezoned on 231 Shelbyville Pike, there were 2 entrances planned, one on Shelbyville Pike and one on Ellis Drive, right next, it's a corner lot like this. Well, TDOT came back and said, you only get 1 entrance. So that's something I would check out first if it were me, but TDOT is very good to work with, and they would gladly set up a meeting to discuss that. So a lot of gas stations, grocery stores want those 2 access drives. So if that is of critical importance, I would say that's something that needs to be done up on the front end of this project. So, but, other than that, it's on, TDOT says that, whoops, hold on just a second. TDOT says that 99 is a minor arterial, and Jackson Ridge Concord Road is a major collector. So these are substantial road networks that this property is situated on, so it has good access to, pretty good roads. So that is a plus. But other than that, I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioners, questions, comments? Staff? Commissioner Whitworth.
Mr. Chairman, I noticed coming in on Highway 99 that they have already set stakes out past Veterans Parkway for widening the highway. how long will it be before this widens, and are we allowing for that road widening in the next 20 years by where this building is going to be set? There's no point in putting a building where we know they're going to be widening the road.
This particular area right through here, Phase 3, like you said, is not, I think Phase 3 of the Highway 99 widening is only supposed to go as far as Veterans, not supposed to go past that. Of course, they'll do that when they're done with the section they're working on now between the interstate and 96. Now, the right-of-way, according at least to the county's GIS, looks like it's got about 140 feet of right-of-way right now. I don't know, based on that amount of right-of-way, I don't know if they actually need to purchase any more right-of-way. They might be able to do the improvement, they should be able to do the improvement with what they have. So as far as purchasing any additional right-of-way, I think they took care of that when they originally built and widened
But
the
when
road.
they redid 99 back all the way to Eagleville, they acquired a lot of right-of-way. So I believe they already have it.
But eventually, this is slated for 5 lanes, but when that's going to happen, I don't think they have any kind of a time frame at this point.
I think I probably need, hey, Mike, leave that one up if
Yes,
you
sir.
would.
It's
'Cause I can help-
redrawn. Yes, sir.
I can help you with that. I've got property that joins across the creek. What we're looking at is old dairy barn right there. I also have overflow of some parking on a gravel lot. Anything from about that gravel back to the creek, if you get a good rain, you'll have water up to at least where that gravel is at now. And I realize that in order to expand this on that side of the dairy barn, I'll need to at least bring it up to the elevation of the road. And I would say it's probably 3 foot, minimum of 3 foot where I'm at on my side. I milked that old barn from about 1972 through 75. I've walked from that barn back to where those 2 houses are flooded because that belonged to the Ferris family. And there was one morning that I couldn't walk to the barn because the water was over the road enough I wasn't going to risk drowning in that moving water. So to be totally transparent with that, I know more about that site than probably anybody in this room because I've walked it and worked it. Slide that down a little bit, Mike, and they'll see the storage business that I have right across the road there. If it'll pick up there, it may catch up in a minute. But I'm on both sides of this side here, and Mr. Patel and we have talked about that site, and I think he is well aware that it's a low site. It seems like there was more questions for him than answers, and I know he was in the hospital last week, and I think he just got out, so his wife and daughter are going to fill in. But my storage site here is level with Highway 99. That was part of the requirements. And Marvin, you're right. My buildings are 70-foot setback right now. I ran my sewer out in front of the building, but I go back and catch a soil site on the very back side there. In anticipation, someday sewer, may not be in my lifetime, but someday sewer probably come down 99 and the kids can just tap right in. Right behind that storage on the other road, if you're looking straight up the screen, I got 9 acres there. There's a pond there, and there's a 9-acre site as well. When we bought that, we fully thought we'd probably do storage on that side, but we're leaning now. There's been some discussion, I know, with Tanya. Tanya talked to me, and she said, hey, you need to get with Doug because there's some discussion about parking on gravels or whatever. So we're right now in discussion phase of expanding maybe on the left side of our dairy barn and leaving this 9 acres probably for an investor that might want to build a house on, because we did sell a 5-acre tract to one of the pharmacies at the VA when he lost his house in tornado, but here in Murfreesboro. But from everything you said, Mike, was spot on about the water. I think it's spot on about the traffic. And I did talk to Mr. Patel last week because I got neighbors out there that, we all chatter when you hear something coming in. And the issues is going to be traffic. That red light there, my daughter was in a near fatal accident at the, not a red light, it's flashing warning light since she was injured in September 1, 2 years ago. could have took her life there, but it's just one of many accidents that's been at that intersection. That ain't storage business fault. It's the angle of that road and people losing their vision. If they don't pull and stop fully, they will not see an oncoming car. So I think Mike's addressed it well in terms of flood, what you'll do with water, and I think he's done a good job talking about traffic. That intersection traffic is going to be important to the community out there, whatever goes in on any of those other three corners, because everybody knows state definitely needs to get involved and be a part of that solution. I don't even see the light's not even up right now. We have a flashing yellow coming going toward Eagleville or Murfreesboro, and we got flashing red coming from that direction there. The dairy barn is straight ahead from where Mike's looking right now. So I could probably help. If you got any questions, I think Mike presented about as well as I know presented.
Commissioner Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the staff comments, it said applicants would be better served if they knew these impacts before trying to rezone. Just so I understand, I got three impacts: the flooding study, the soil testing, and traffic access. Those are the three impacts that I understand to be correct?
Those are the primary ones. Now, they do have a soil map that they show. It's the very last page in there. So they have had some soil analysis done, but again, the location of that soil, will have an impact as far as how big of a structure they can build, where they can put their parking and those kind of things. But like you said, the flooding and the traffic being especially access being the other major issues that we had some concerns about. And from our standpoint, there's other commercial zoning in the area, so I mean, this wouldn't be the only tract that was actually zoned that way. But what we always tell people in pre-application meetings and just general counsel is that it's always a good idea to know, can you do what you want to do before you actually make the request? Because if you make the request, even if you get it, it turns out, oh, we can't do what we want to do with it, you've gone through the process for no reason, basically.
And one more question: how far again was the FEMA buyout property?
Just basically right behind it.
It's right behind it, yeah. So it's these two parcels right behind the commercial general property. So the yellow is what's being requested right now, and these two are part of the FEMA buyouts. The two FEMA buyout houses are right here on Rockvale Road. They front Rockvale Road. They back up to that commercial general property right to the southwest of the applicant's property.
That darkest red there, the water runs across the road to our left, top left, kind of goes that way. There's culvert under the Highway 99. And I have personally seen water, even with the new road, running across that road right there, because I understand that culvert may not be big enough to handle the flow of water, even though it's a new road. I think it gets awful tight right there, but it takes a lot of water to make that happen. I've only seen it one time, but I have seen water about 1.5 inches, 2 inches over 99 there.
Chairman Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, we've got pictures of those two homes in a flooding situation. Do we have any pictures, GPS pictures, of that piece of property like back in 2010 or anything?
No, the 2010 aerial imagery, now I might be able to find it on Google Earth. I'll have to look and see on that. But a lot of times a lot of the flood imagery was taken 2 days after the May 2010 flood. So water goes up, goes down pretty quick, so it might not show up on this imagery.
Also, has there been a neighborhood meeting? Anybody requested or called for a neighborhood meeting?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Phillips.
Anything else, Commissioners? Any other questions, Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael and Doug, Did I hear correctly that if that was to be developed, whether it's a housing finished floor elevation or business finished floor elevation, I thought I heard the number of 3 feet that would have to be raised?
Well, whatever the determined base flood elevation is for that flood zone, excuse me, livable space, the floor is 3 feet above that base flood elevation. Non-livable is just 1 foot above.
Okay, so we don't really know, or I don't really know what the elevation of the soil is at this point, but it's going to have to be raised a couple of feet, right?
It looks like wherever the store is and possibly the parking, the HVAC unit,
Yeah.
utilities will have to be elevated.
Okay, so that's going to displace water.
Yes.
Current that will displace water. So will they then have to put an on-site detention? Or how are we going to keep that displaced water off of the dairy farm, the other 2 lots or 3 lots that haven't been purchased from the FEMA buyout?
So in anything in the unincorporated areas of Rutherford County, we require a compensating cut. If you fill in one part of the floodplain, they'll have to determine the floodplain first.
Yes.
And the base flood elevation. So wherever you fill in that bathtub, you've got to excavate out
Right.
same amount somewhere else, so we don't lose that volume.
So is your educated guess that on that one site alone, there's enough space to do that?
It's going to be challenging because you've got a stream buffer, you've got your soils you can't disturb.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you can't touch. So what you do fill up, you're going to have to be creative and find an area that you can excavate out. And then also have your stormwater management area for the smaller storms.
Right. So, and we're going to have a public hearing, right? Does this require, okay. So they own the property already, right? So they're not on a time schedule to try and close the property, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, they are listed as the owner of the property, so that's correct.
Okay. So you've mentioned 3 boxes that you would recommend get checked before this really, you can determine whether this has a pulse, really, right? So I would like to hear from the applicant about, what their thought process is, because the size of this retail space could change dramatically based on soils, based on the balance of the site, right? Cut and fill.
Sir.
So there's 2 strikes that could be against them from the get-go that they're not even aware of until they have a proper study.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and like I said, TDOT threw us a curve for that subway on Shelbyville Pike, because typically that was the last checkbox that you go to TDOT and say, hey, we're going to put a driveway here, and this is what we're doing on a state highway. Well, the subway had already gone through rezoning, had gone through site plan approval, and then they go for their TDOT permit, and TDOT says, nope, you get 1 entrance. So that was like, sorry.
That's actually an engineering technical term. Yeah.
That's engineering language. Okay. Anything else, commissioners? Any other questions you may have for staff? If not, we're going to have the public hearing. I'm now calling the public hearing time. To those who would like to speak upon this property right here, I'd like to remind you that you are only making comments. This is not a question and answering period for you to ask questions. You're only to make your comments about the property that we have coming up at this time. Also, let me remind you, you have 3 minutes. You'll notice sitting here upon the podium, there are 3 red lights, green, yellow, and red. You're used to these out here on the highway. Green, you have time to give your statement. Yellow light means you have 30 more seconds. Just like on the highway, you're going to hurry on through because the red light means to stop. So we'll let you do that, and what we'll do is let you come up one at a time. We need your name and your address, and we'll let you to speak. So whoever would like to come up first, we'll do that. I didn't bring the applicant up, but we're going to let them come first and let them make their statement. Good evening. Just that mic, if you like to, pull it down closer.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Divya Patel. I live at 557 Piccadilly Drive, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, 37128, and I'm the daughter of Sunil Patel. The first question, we have done a flood test. We should get the results in within this month, and we did talk to TDOT. So we should have an answer within the end of this month with the 2 exits. We did get approved for the 1 exit on Jackson Ridge, but we haven't got approved on the Highway 99 yet. But other than that, if you have any other questions, we'll open.
Commissioners, do you have anything else for the applicant?
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, and if it's not, just tell me to shut up, but liquor license, have you applied for a liquor license?
We haven't. This is our first time opening a liquor store, so we're wanting to do it, but we're not like sure that we're gonna open one for sure.
I'm just wondering what the restrictions are, if it's permitted in that particular area.
It is permitted. We've gotten that checked, but we haven't like actually applied for the license and everything, but we have gotten them go through the process, like could we get it and would it be approved if we get it?
Commissioners?
A lot of times when we have a rezoning that affects neighborhoods, especially residential neighborhoods, the applicant for that rezoning has neighborhood meetings to get input from neighbors. You haven't had that yet?
No, sir.
Why not?
We haven't had time for the past 2-3 weeks, actually. My dad hasn't been feeling good, and he was in the hospital for over a week. So we haven't had the time, honestly. Even this meeting, he should have been here, but he's not here today.
So what does that mean? You're going to have one or not?
We're going to have one within a week,
Thank you.
hopefully.
Okay, thank you. All right. First. Commissioner, come on up.
3 minutes, huh? All right, I'll try. I get 2. Ronald Williams, live at 11090 Versailles Road, live about a mile from this place. I think they've done a good job on this. I just wanted to point out a few things since I've lived out there since 1949 that I have a little familiarity with. On Concord Creek that comes through there that they all talk about, there's a creek that comes all the way through across Jim knows and everybody out there, comes off of Versailles Knob. Everything from Versailles Knob to the Pinnacle and from Jerry Burns Drive all the way up the road comes to this. This is the lowest part on this side of the road. The road is built up, I'm going to say 6 feet. It's got one culvert through it. There's nowhere for the water to go. It's going to back up. The other thing is that they don't show on the maps or won't is there's this huge aquifer underneath there. About 2.5 miles down the road toward Iggerville is where the Harpeth River starts. And we have all these sinkholes out here that have been falling in, one on Mount Pleasant, one just down off Ditch Lane when we get dry. And as we all know, remember from, what was that place, Shores Road? A few years ago, that this water just all backed up because once this aquifer gets full, that's what happens right here. This is a big, long, same level land. It goes all the way over. Swamp Road was not a name, it was a description of that place back through there. From all the way over there, it's swampy, and that way there's no place for the water to go, even if the place underneath the road were better. Used to farm that on Taylor Road. Water would just come up in our field when these aquifers fill up. So My concern is that the study won't show that this is at the bottom of a ravine 180 degrees around where the Highway 99 was built up 6 feet. It was built up that way for a reason. And this water has no place to go, all the way from other side of Jim's place, all the way up to Bob Maxwell's, on up the road up there, which is a half mile either way. There's no place for the water to go. So I don't know what kind of water study you do, but those of us that live out there try to live by measure twice and cut once, and I would hope y'all would do the same. Thank you. Under the time.
Thank you, sir. All right, next. Anybody else? All right, we'll close the comment period. Commissioners, yours. More questions, comments, motion, what else we may have?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to say, in light of the fact that Mr. Patel has been in the hospital, there's not been a community meeting. I'm hearing by rights it sounded like liquor was available, and I think there's some question about that. I had openly talked to Mr. Patel last week about that because the community is not interested in having a liquor store out that way. I can just tell you when they have a community meeting that will come out. But what I'm hearing, staff has already advised, let's get the traffic, let's get the flood, let's get all of that worked out before we do anything. I'd move that we defer this and ask that they follow the staff's recommendations, and then if it all works out that they could move forward, let's get them to have a community meeting out there to work out the details of what, it may not be big enough to have a Sitco. But again, I don't know that without studying. Like Ronald says, I think you're going to want to really put an eye on this. Mike feels the same way. So that's my motion.
A motion to defer. Second. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It has been deferred. Mr. DeMasi.
Yes, sir, if I may
reports
make
and other
just,
business.
well, if I could just make a comment about the deferral just for a moment. I think that was part of the appropriate item or the action to take at this point. It sounds like they've got a lot of things already kind of in the works, so I think that'll help. As far as the neighborhood meeting is concerned, I would just want to say to the applicant, have her or whoever reach out to me. We can help with assisting as far as getting an address list together and everything. We probably need to, I always tell people it's good to give them a couple weeks notice for that. That way people can clear their schedules and whatnot, but we can help them with that. So I just wanted to make that quick statement. As far as staff reports and other business are concerned, I just really have one item just to bring up, and I just want to say that the Plan Rutherford, our comprehensive plan update, our next steering committee meeting is next Monday. That'll be the 16th. That'll be at 2:30, I believe is the time, and that'll be over there in room 205. So I just wanted to make that known to everybody. So that was pretty much all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other business. Chairman Phillips.
Probably, I don't mean to open up a can of worms, but I just attended a steering committee meeting before this meeting, and there was an announcement of the mayor's appointment for a new planning commissioner and to replace David Jones, I believe, that's retiring. And I just wanted to ask either the chairman or maybe even Mr. DeMasi, if the mayor's reached out to you for a recommendation. It's been the history, when I was chair of this commission, that the mayor did that, reached out for a recommendation. And I just wondered if that had happened.
Yes, and we have had discussions. Now, we haven't come out with a name or anything, from our end to give him, but we have discussed the opening. And to answer your question, yes, we have had discussions on that.
Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am. So before I mention a name that I would like for the commission to support, is that appropriate?
My advice would be for you to contact the mayor's office about that.
So the answer is no again? Is that right? No?
I can get back to you. I don't think we've ever typically had a planning commission make a recommendation to the mayor's office in a public meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember that either, but there were some discussion from some commissioners in a roundabout way. If we had the opportunity to do it, who would that be? And I appreciate that input. So it would be your recommendation for us as individuals to contact the mayor's office.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Two questions. When is our next planning commission meeting?
Yes, our next planning commission meeting, and then you'll forgive me, I thought I had updated everything. It's September 23rd. That'd be 2 weeks from today.
September 23rd, okay. I have a question to Mike as it kind of relates to the case we just heard. Mike, the two FEMA properties that are going through, those houses will be removed, right? What will happen to that land?
It will stay vacant land. There's very limited, you can't really build anything on it. You can build, a park with some improvements. It's only like 3.5 acres. Well, one of the parcels is 3.5 acres. But you could build a bathroom but that's about it. It would have to be elevated and flood-proofed.
Could we build a quasi-regional detention system to help alleviate the flooding around a perimeter?
Yes, sir. Now, they have done that at other areas. I think they did that off of Deer Run and off of Gresham Lane kind of area, John R. Rice. I think the highway department did excavate. Once they tore the house down, they over-excavated the yard and helped create a stormwater storage area. Yeah.
Without a real numbers crunching design, is that enough area to even make a dent in the issues that they have out there?
No, sir.
It's lipstick on a pig, isn't it? Okay.
Drop in the bucket.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
It would help with the smaller storms, but the big storms like you saw in those photographs, nope.
I think Mike showed a picture a little while ago what that usually looks like. That's about 3 inches. I think some of the people who live out there can tell you what that is. About 3 inches causes this. Now, with the drought we had, it may not do that, but that's about what it would do right there.
It's a good idea. I'm open to any idea. Yes.
Good thought. When you mentioned that creek that goes behind where that property is right there, there is a sinkhole in that creek that rises and goes up and down. I know individuals who have lost coon hounds that were chasing a coon and it goes off in that hole, and you could hear the dogs running underneath your feet back in there. So it works like that too. All right, anything else needs to come before this group? If not, we're adjourned.